Well, hello, everyone. Come on in. Welcome. Join us. I'm going to get this going on the Women in Publishing Summit page as well. Maybe. Please let us know in the chat where you are coming from. And most of you have been around for a few webinars with us, so you know the drill. Okay, we're getting started here, getting all of that stuff going. Okay, we should be live. Okay, yay. All right, well, welcome everybody. We are surely excited to have you here just a week out. It's the 27th. We start next Wednesday. So a week and a day out from our big annual event. We do have a special session on Monday, March 4th, that is our opening keynote, but it's open to the public. So I really encourage you all to head over to the womeninpublishingsummit.com/events page and look for the keynote with Stacey O'Byrne on March 4th. She is such a wonderful source of inspiration, and we are really excited about her particular event. Again, it's open to everybody. If you are a ticket holder, you will need to register as well. So just make sure that you register for that event. The recording will be loaded to all of your other recordings. This is also an open and free event to all of our community. If you're brand new to the Women in Publishing Summit, every month we have at least one, sometimes like this month, 3 or 4 open and free events to our entire community, solely provided to you because of the grace of our sponsors. Their sponsorship allows us to keep the price of the ticket low. It also allows us to have monthly training, networking opportunities for our community so that we can continue to have things happening all year long. So it's not just about that 1 week in March. Today, I'm really pleased to have JoEllen Nordstrom with us today. JoEllen and I go back for years. She's been first editing her company. Her editing company has been a very loyal and proud supporter of the Women in Publishing Summit for years now. But JoEllen herself is just a really fun person to be around. She's an editor. She's a company owner. She is a nomad. She travels around. She's lived in Costa Rica. They're now in
Sweden. Back to
Sweden.
Sweden. Yeah.
Back to Sweden. Just a wonderful source of knowledge around the editing process. We've used their company to edit several of our books, and we've, been very happy with that process. She's going to tell you all about the topic today, which is about AI versus human editing, which I just find to be a fascinating topic because of all the things happening. Let me give you her official bio. JoEllen is the founder of First Editing, a unique and successful professional editing service. They have dominated the online editing marketplace for over a decade and helped over 50,000 authors. They have hundreds of successfully published writers, numerous best-selling authors, and thousands of manuscripts self-published by academics, business authorities, fiction authors, you name it, the whole gamut. They offer a wide spectrum of editing options. You can get a free sample. They can tell you what type of editing you need, and just a great experience. So make sure that you check out all of their stuff at our sponsor page for them, womeninpublishingsummit.com/first editing. And we'll also have a link for you with a special additional bonus offer that she's giving to attendees of this session. So be sure to pay attention to that, and we'll of course send that over for everyone. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a continued sponsor and helping us continue to bring all of this great training and education into our community. And I just want to remind everyone before I kick this over to JoEllen, there is a Q&A box. Please use the Q&A box if you have questions. You're more than welcome to use the chat box for comments and etc. But do put your questions in the Q&A box so that when we get to that portion of the webinar, we are ready to go. So again, welcome to the Women in Publishing Summit community, to our free webinar with First Editing. I'm Alexa Bigworth, host of the conference, and I'm going to now kick things over to JoEllen.
Hello, and thank you for coming. Everyone can hear me okay? Does it sound okay? I never even checked that, but I hope it's all right.
You sound great.
Great. So the hot thing to talk about is AI, and I am just going to present that today. And as you have questions, please enter them to the box. And as we said, we can answer them in a little bit. As we mentioned, I work with editing day in and day out. So this has been, it's not totally new. It has been building over time, and it's with all the apps and tools that you've seen over the years. But we'll cover that. And I just want to talk to you about how it blends, how that tool works in your editing process today. So let me just bring up on my screen here, and I will get started, and then I will answer your questions as we get going. So, you know, artificial intelligence is quite unique. And let's see, is it coming here? Okay, so artificial intelligence, what we're talking about, and how that works with editing and versus the human professional book editor. So you've got algorithms, automatons, Chat GPT, Bard, now Gemini, Appies, and the writing world is just buzzing with the rise of AI editing tools for writing, editing, publishing, marketing, and so much more. So the question is there a genie in the box that's basically a dream come true for us? Can robots truly replace the human touch? And that's what we need to find out. How does it look when we compare AI editing with human book editing? So today I want to explore the strengths and the limitations of each, and we want to look at them from pinpointing the typos to polishing the prose, because editing is a wide spectrum there. We also want to talk about the secrets of humanizing AI generated content and distinguishing editing from outright rewriting, which is what we're getting now. So welcome. My name is JoEllen. I'm from firstediting.com, and we've assisted over 50,000 authors, a lot more than that, but we stopped counting, since 1994 in writing, editing, and more. And today, I just want to share that experience, and in combination with the new AI tools and all the approaches that are out there and how you can use those to your benefit. So I encourage you to ask questions during the time we have here. There has been a lot of questions coming in advance, and we've been overwhelmed by your response to this topic, even in advance, and on the AI writing and editing. And so I do have a list of questions that I want to address if we can. And if we don't get to your question today, please make sure that you just send it to us. You can email us at editors@firstediting.com. And you're always welcome to reach out to us directly there and ask us about any of your editing communication. So we'll be glad to call you or talk to you or whatever you need along those lines. So let's compare AI tools and the
JoEllen,
human.
I'm
Yes.
so sorry to interrupt you. I didn't
Huh?
think you were sharing slides, but are you going through
No, I'm
slides?
not.
Oh, okay,
No, I'm
okay.
not.
It looked like you clicked the next button, so I just wanted to make sure.
No, no, no.
And people are saying they don't see the video. Is there anyone else who doesn't see her video? You should see JoEllen uh on the video. Okay, people see you. Okay. Are you going to share slides? Just so I know to, okay, no
No,
slides. We're just having a discussion today. All
we're
right.
just having a
Sorry to
discussion.
interrupt you and terrify you
I
with my booming
was like,
voice.
like, there's a loud voice in my ears. All right, guys, I'm sorry about that. So, again, just reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll be glad to answer those. And we'll make sure that we take care of those as we go. So, I hope you all can see me, hear me, and no, there is no PowerPoint or anything like that as we go on about AI and editing. So, let's just cover that today and make sure that we get all of your questions. So let me see here. Where I was is that basically with AI, it is a tool, and we want to discuss how you can use this tool with conjunction of your professional editor so that you can save money and also get the best use. So we're going to compare AI tools and the human professional editors and how they can work together. So today, I hope you gain valuable insights into understanding and navigating all of the evolving landscape of AI. It's moving very fast, along with self-editing and the professional book editing process, which is quite lengthy. And I want to make sure that your voice shines through all this so that it doesn't get lost in the AI. And no matter your source of creation or the methods of production, whatever you do, let's just make sure that you understand where we are in that. So we're going to explore the future of fiction and nonfiction writing, which is where it's really at right now, editing and then publishing together using these tools. So I want to look over the strengths and limitations of AI and how those compare to the human editing. And so we can start there. So we've got grammar ninjas, prose polishers, where does each of these shine and how do we use them? So how can we humanize the AI content? So first we want to start using artificial text, but you want to always make sure that it's combined with your unique voice. So editing and copywriting and ghostwriting, all of those kind of blend into this conversation. So if you have questions about that, let's talk about that dance between enhancing your work and rewriting it all together, or having something else write it for you. So I want to walk you away. I want to make sure that you walk away today informed with insights about how editing works traditionally and how it's working now, and how to navigate, sorry, the publishing process and the landscape that where it's sitting now, where it's headed, because it's changing very rapidly. And you want to make sure, no matter what, that your voice is powered throughout this. It's not overwhelmed by the AI. So we want to put those tools to work for you today. So let's get started. When you have AI versus human professional book editing, you are looking at how the digital landscape is changing, and the role of editing has evolved dramatically. Artificial intelligence is now emerging as a powerful tool for improving the quality and efficiency, basically, how quickly you can write something and how quickly you can edit something. But it also raises questions about the future of human editing, which, of course, is close to my concern here. So this webinar talks about the pros and cons of those two. Why would you use an AI in one situation? Why would you use a human editor? And you want to compare those strengths and limitations when you approach each of those. And how do we automate that so that we can become better writers, better editors, using grammar checking, spell checking, style consistency, and then also remaining highlighting the importance of human judgment and the creativity in the editing process that's out there. So there are different methods during the different phases of editing, and there are many different stages of editing. We have the book editing stages. We begin with developmental, which is your editing and finishing your first draft. It's dealing with your composition, your structure, your engagement of your readers, and so much more. So that's a very high level there, digital or developmental editing. Moving on to content editing and critiques, which is when you're looking at the design, the polishing, and evaluating of the complete idea. After that, you have line editing, which is description, cohesion, flow, style, followed by copy editing, which is going to be your grammar, spelling, punctuation, syntax. Then you'll go into formatting, and of course, everyone always talks about proofreading, which is technically not editing, but you want to do that before, and you want to get that reviewed and approved when you send it off. So if you're comparing all of those with the strengths and weaknesses of AI, you want to look at the tools that are out there. And AI powered writing and editing tools like pseudo-writer or pseudo-write, Jasper AI, Novel AI, Writer, Squibbler, Fictionary, Marlowe, Manuscripts AI, Authors AI. There's so many out there. And these are just a few of the many AI powered book writing and editing tools that are out there available for you today. So you've got a lot of options to choose from, and you want to be sure that you find the perfect tools to help you write your next bestseller. But of course, you want to make sure that you can overcome the learning curve. So I would not advise that you take too many. Find whatever works for you. Don't overwhelm yourself with so many options, and also remember that you still need to have the knowledge to understand the purpose of the tools provided. So tools are just tools, and they are completely dependent upon how you use them. So if you have a craftsman there, they can create a masterpiece, while a newbie would still need to learn the skills to benefit from using the tool. It doesn't matter how great the tool is, the user is still responsible ultimately for the production. So the benefits of using AI for editing is accessibility. It's very low cost and it's automated, so it makes it much more simpler. The limitations, however, are going to be the lack of human judgment. We haven't overcome that yet. You've got limited creativity, and you want to use something that keeps your voice cohesive. And also, there's a lack of understanding the context that's being written. So again, the role of human editors is still very important. in the editing process, and it will remain so because the biggest thing that you get, which is what's happening right here, is this connection between humans, the editor and the author, and making sure that the author connects with the readers. So that human connection is essential. And with the human editor, you've got, what we haven't been able to replace yet is critical thinking, creativity, language nuances, and language training. You also have a overall comprehension of the goal of the writer, the goal of the genre's requirements to fit within there. So the advantages of a professional book editor is still there, but you can use the AI powered editing tools there. They are becoming increasingly sophisticated, and human editors are going to still offer some advantages over those, but you do want to use them together. So when you're understanding context and nuance, the human editors are going to be able to grasp the deeper meaning, the intent of your writing, the needs of your audience. It's going to be considering those factors of genre, cultural references that may or may not be relevant there. Uh, the AI tools are going to struggle with all those subtleties, and they are coming, but it's going to take a while. Content editors are going to assess the overall flow and structure. They're going to make sure that they're going to be making suggestions to you beyond the basic grammar and mechanics that the AI focuses on. So that's very important. And when you have a professional book editor, they can identify plagiarism and potential copyright issues, which AI tool doesn't just often miss, but they might insert into your writing. So you do need to be aware of that. Creativity and originality is what we're aiming for here, because you really need to stand out and you need to have creative solutions to improve your writing style, tone, and the impact on the readers. So the AI tools are more limited in providing those, whereas a developmental editor is going to offer feedback on the content, not just the mechanics, but they're going to suggest new ideas. They're going to restructure the overall presentation, your arguments. Basically, editors coach you in writing. They're going to tailor your approach to your individual needs and your individual voice, and also on the complexity and uniqueness of each project. So uh, they are very good at handling those complex editing tasks like technical documents, academic papers, creative writing. Nuanced, again, understanding is always going to be crucial there, and we're not at the point that we can pass that yet. So we can adapt specific style guides, and we can meet the formatting requirements. Those are becoming better and easier with the tools out there, but professionals still handle those complex factual checks, the research, and AI is still failing there. So when you are working with a professional book editor, um, you're going to look at book coaches basically who can answer your questions. They can explain the reasoning why you want to approach it this way and that, which will help you on your future writing projects. They're going to provide valuable learning opportunities for you, and you will become better. It is personal training, more or less. So professional editors are going to use editorial critiques and consultations. That's really what most people are looking for, that personal attention. And they can offer this in personalized feedback and guidance. They're going to build a rapport with you throughout the entire editing process. So that's pretty important right there in just having faith in yourself sometimes. And developmental editors are always going to take that high level approach. They add the human touch to your writing. They're going to make sure it's authentic and has an emotional impact. It's not just factual. So there are some editing tools that offer benefits, such as the speed and the efficiency and the affordability that I mentioned. And this, when you combine that with the human editing, you are going to get optimal results, because the value of having the human or the professional book editor is going to be highly dependent upon which stage of editing you're in. And again, you're looking at the top level developmental editing and finishing, that first draft, and your composition, your structure, your engagement with your readers and more. That's where you really want to have a human involved. And you've got the content editing with the critiques. It helps with the designing, the polishing, and evaluating in down to all of your revisions through line editing for the description, cohesion, flow, style, whatever it may be. Now, when you get to copy editing, that's where you've got tools, because it's about grammar, spelling, punctuation, syntax, formatting, and all of those different things as you go into proofing. Now, that doesn't mean that it's always right. You still need to use human if you're not sure if it's right or wrong. They're going to make suggestions, but you need to follow that. So when you're doing that, how do you harness the power of AI and the human editors together? You want to make sure that you're humanizing any AI content you're using. And what that means is you need to be an expert in the knowledge and skills along with using these tools that you have at hand. So anything you're writing, if you're using AI, you need to be able to have an expert there. And that also applies to the writers and editors. So the editors need to be experts in the publishing journey and helping you implement the right AI tools into the production process. So while AI might write some of the content, it can definitely outline the content for you, and it can scrub the internet for whatever info you want, but you still need to combine it and present it for your individual use, your individual authors or readers, and you want to make sure that it's not including any plagiarized content, inaccurate information, or illegible details, which is quite often what's inserted by AI. But it's getting better, and you need to know if it's right or wrong. And you need to be able to identify the strengths and the weaknesses of the content provided if you're implementing this into your writing. And if you can't, you're going to still need to get an expert who can. So ultimately, and we're seeing this now, readers will sense when things are off. We sense it when it's off. And it's the same way we get excited when you're doing the right form of writing. We also know when something isn't quite clicking. So when you integrate AI and human professional book editors, you need to understand the roles and responsibilities between AI and human editors. So AI needs to be used for tasks where it excels at automated proofreading, style suggestions, copy editing, while human editors are going to focus on the high level tasks like plot development, character consistency, overall narrative flow in the fiction areas, and how you're engaging with your audience overall. And you can definitely enhance the book editing process using the tools, and it will lead to better quality, higher productivity, and definitely reduce costs because we can focus on the high end here. So you need to think about those things when you're choosing your tools and you're using them, and that you know why and what you're using. So you're going to utilize AI for initial proofreading and error correction. You're going to the basic proofreading tasks like grammatical errors, typos, inconsistencies in the punctuation or formatting, language use, if it's English or British. This can significantly reduce the time spent on the mundane tasks, and that allows us as human editors, which I feel so weird saying human, but allows us to focus on the complex of editing and writing assignments, those nuances we're talking about. And what it will result in is that we can spend more time and you'll get a better return on your investment because we're able to do a higher level, more in-depth developmental edit. And so you're going to leverage that for your style and your grammar suggestions. So an AI can provide valuable suggestions for improving your writing style. They can suggest how to improve the sentence structure and your grammar, but you need to understand what they're offering to you, and you need to agree with it or disagree. And if you don't, you can just leave it for your line editor when they go through, or your content editor, so they can look at that and tell if it's right or wrong, because I'm still getting day-to-day suggestions that are not correct. So you do need to have that understanding of when to incorporate the suggestions made by AI and those tools. They're very good at looking for pattern recognition and data analysis. AI can go out and analyze large amounts of data and identify the patterns, trends, and any anomalies there quite quickly. And editing tools do this particularly well when they're identifying overused words, cliches, inconsistencies in tone or style. So when you have this, any of the results you're not sure about, you want to share with your editor, and they'll answer your questions or concerns. So it does give you a step in and it's going to save you money. I do think that AI is worth using. You want to harness that ideas and generating ideas from it. They can help you outline chapters. You can do all these creative things when you're trying to compose it. It's good for giving you prompts of where to start. And then once you've written your manuscript, the editors come in and they refine and polish the content. And they're going to ensure that it aligns with your vision and your overall style and your genre and all of that. So only AI models trained on high quality literature are really the ones you want to use. So ensure that your AI is trained. You'll often see based upon which author that it's influenced by, and that's very helpful. So it'll help identify and suggest improvements in the writing style based on the genre. It also helps with the grammar and the overall storytelling. So, but that being said, still be careful because again, you need to know your genre. You need to know the nuances of your audience, and you can complement this editing with those AIs. So, you want to share any analysis you get from those patterns, potential improvements. If you see something coming back on the reports you're getting from your AI, I do think you should share that with your editor because those are your editor's going to base the decisions made on their past publishing experience, and they're going to help you learn the editing process for your future writing and your future self-editing, but they're going to help you sort through what's happening at the first round with the AI tools that are out there. That being said, AI is going to help you produce manuscript qualities that are really much faster and efficient and at a lower cost, especially if you're doing nonfiction. And then once you do that, that collaborative approach is going to help you use the human editors and revolutionize the way that books are being created, edited, and then eventually published. So things that you can implement today, and I'll answer your questions, is you want to use AI to generate outlines, plot suggestions. AI is good used to for creating those plot suggestions. They can put down your ideas on paper and put it all together, and you'll start to see the overall structure of your work. So AI can do that, especially if you have an idea for a table of contents, or you can fill it in as you go. There's very good tools out there when you want to get started, if you're having writer's block and you want to get more feedback on your ideas early on. There's a lot of tools out there now which will give you writing prompts and help you plot your stories. So I do recommend you use those if it works for you. So, and then you want to use AI for your initial self-editing, such as the proofreading and the grammar checking and the style manuals that it uses. AI can be very effective at identifying those errors and typos and inconsistencies. And that allows us, again, to get a cleaner manuscript in front of your human editor so they can focus on the creative and subjective aspects of the editing process. Again, going back to the plot, the character, the development, the style, all those things, the world building that really is a nuanced creative skill. You also want to use AI to identify plagiarism. And, you can compare, AI can compare your manuscript to a huge amount of text online, and potential plagiarized issues can be caught. And you want to avoid plagiarizing other works. And you do not want to get involved in copyright infringement. I think that's going to be a huge issue as we go into this next phase. So Google any plagiarism checkers out there to get help in that area, always. And then the good thing we have now is formatting. AI can now automate tasks like formatting, and that's going to save you a lot of time and money for you and your publishers. So when you're looking out there, there's a lot of software as a service when uploading your manuscript, and they're very good at doing that. So that's going to let you balance your budget a little bit better. There's also, examples of how you can integrate AI into the book editing process. It's going to continue developing. So we're going to expect to see more innovative ways on how to use AI and improve the quality and the efficiency of the book editing process. And so we're very excited. It is a new time out there. So the final consideration when using AI tools to write your book is basically determining how to ensure its original content, because AI will copy and paste, basically plagiarize all the public content from the internet into your requested search. And if you tell it, it'll say, yeah, oh, you're right, this is plagiarized. So you can't use that information. You need to have anything you use, you need to have citations, you need to do it carefully, you need to check. So any generated content out there, you need to make sure that it's rewritten, paraphrased, that you're interpreting that information in a creative, new, original content, because this, what you learn in college. So you need to be the expert of the subject matter that you're generating out there. And you need to approach all of those issues ideally before you contact an editor, because once they see it, they're just going to highlight it and say, this is not original content. This is not original content. And we can read it. So it is quite interesting to see that coming through a lot more now. But you want to get a developmental editor during the creative phase, and they can help you with that structural advice and give you some literary and publishing insight. And the best part is they're going to be able to give you a critique of the manuscript, of the strengths and weaknesses of what you're putting out there, the ideas, and they'll also be able to point out any remaining plagiarism or things that you need to change in there. So, and then once you have that, you can self-edit prior to your submission. So you want to do a hybrid approach. You want to combine AI and human editing to make it a cost-effective way to produce more, and it's going to help you become a better writer, a better self-editor. It's going to create stronger compositions, and over time, I think you'll become more creative. It'll be more cohesive. So I just want to open this up on any questions that I can. It's developing very quickly. We have a lot happening in AI and human editing, but if you have any questions, again, we'll answer them now. And if we can't reach them all, please let us know, and we'll look at, you can drop us an email at editors@firstediting.com, and we'll adjust those as we go. So Alexa, are you still here?
I am, and boy, do you have a lot
Woo!
of questions to try to dig through. Nothing like poking the bee's nest, right? Oh my
Mm,
God. Um,
well, and I don't
it-
know that I can answer all of them, but we can definitely discuss the
and there's a
importance of them.
lot of overlap here between people wanting to ask questions on using AI for writing and writing tools versus editing. I'm just going to go ahead and say
They
we're
do.
going to stick to the editing portion
Okay.
of it right now.
Yep.
Um, and we can talk about, if we have time, then maybe we can go back and talk about the writing programs, but lots and lots and lots of questions. And I would refer all of you, if you attended our AI mini conference, we had tons of like content on
Mm,
what to use for writing and all of that kind of stuff. And I can share that link in the replay, or in the, on the, yeah, anyway. Okay. So Robin's
absolutely.
question first. Are there any tips for finding human editors? I love this question actually, because I know this is a big concern for a lot of people right now, that don't just take your work, pop it into an AI program, and then send back those edits without doing the human level editing themselves.
Correct. Correct. I mean, I think we're not having any of those problems here, but of course that's because I run my company and I know what my editors are doing. But we are hearing that. We're getting a lot of complaints who are coming to us saying, look, do you actually do the editing, or are you just using these situations? It's really good to have specific questions, to put in some, you know, errors if you want to test the person that but we always provide a free sample edit. So that's basically, they're going to go through, they're going to give you a recommendation of which level of editing you need, because just putting it through would never do what you need. If you're, where you are in the writing and editing process determines which level of editing you need. If you're still struggling with the structure and the composition, then that can't be done by a appy or an automaton or bot or whatever it is. And they're going to look at it and move it around, and they're going to give you a lot of suggestions on character development and plot, or your narratives if it's nonfiction, a narrative nonfiction, how you're telling your stories, how you're engaging your audience. So you should get the comments back from the editor. If they just send you back your document and that all you're getting are corrections, the same as you would with Grammarly or ProWriting Aid or whatever, then obviously that's what they're doing. Uh, Editors should be using those tools. Absolutely. It helps them do a better work. They are still humans. But where the advantage of working with a human is giving you feedback on what is strong, what you've done right, and where you're struggling, or where you're repetitive, where it's the lack of information, lack of support. So those are the situations. So it will be in the collaborative exchange of ideas and in all the communication you receive from them. And
Right.
if you want, always get a consultation with them because they have to read through the whole book.
Yeah,
So,
and I think this is why it's also really important when you're looking for editors. One, ask other authors who they've used, and two, make sure you take advantage of the thing like what you and all professional editors that I have seen with the sample edit. Because when you
mm,
get those first few pages back and you can see the types of
mm,
things, and obviously it's also highly dependent on the type of editing, right? The type of responses and what you're going to get from a developmental edit are going to drastically differ from a copy or line edit, which is the focus on the grammar and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to development. So, I mean, that's another big part of the reason why we do these webinars, is so that people get the opportunity to hear what should happen in an editing
right.
process, what should happen when you're looking for an editor. And just a plug for what I know you've got some other stuff you're going to offer too, but a plug for going over to the womeninpublishingsummit.com/first editing page. You'll get the
Mm,
information where you can ask questions, where you can submit your stuff and their coupon code for a discount that you can lock in. So
mhm.
it's always, and we love first editing, but I will always tell authors to shop around,
Check.
get a couple
Yeah.
of sample edits, see who fits with you, see who, because not everybody's going to be a great fit.
No,
um
it's a matchmaking process. And that's the big thing is what we're seeing as there's so many more options and it's becoming more obvious that people are trying to, use the tools on both sides the best way they can, that more people are requesting editing assessments or beta reads or consultations. So that's one thing I wanted to mention is we put together a package today. We've never done this before. It's basically if you want to do an editing assessment, which means the editor's going to read the first 10,000 words. You can have all your questions ready, and then they'll meet you for half an hour. And we mark that at $89. And what we'll do is if you decide to use this as your editing company afterwards, we're going to give you $50 back. So it's pretty much you can't lose, in my
and
opinion.
Judy just Yeah, exactly. Judy corrected me. She said not all professional editors do a sample edit. So
No,
again,
not all.
not all of them. And this is part of that relationship building, is finding out what their process is, what their pricing is, and going back and forth and figuring that out. It's like you just said perfectly. It's a matchmaking process. So
Mm.
at a minimum, Judy, though, I would guess that if you're not doing a sample edit, you're at least answering questions.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm going to recopy what JoEllen just dropped in here because it only went to panelists while I'm bringing up the second question for you.
Okay.
So Betty says the Copyright Office won't accept AI generated materials to be registered for copyright, only human created materials. How do you distinguish AI editing of the text from using AI to create it? Now, just to clarify, they will not take it if it is 100% generated by AI.
Correct.
100%. So
So, I
what?
mean, when you're looking at copyright or you're looking at plagiarism or any of those combinations, it's like when you go into college and you're doing your thesis and dissertation, you're basically using all the information that's out there and you're trying to come into a new perspective. So you are paraphrasing, you're becoming aware of all the ideas and you're putting them together in new ways. With AI, it's going out there and grabbing it for you. Now, it may directly cut and paste and just stick it right in there without citing it. That's a big problem. But when it's putting it all together, it that is got it has signals on it. Basically, it's you can read it. It feels different from your voice for one thing. And then you can run a plagiarism check or that on there. And the best thing you do is when you run these plagiarism checks, it'll highlight what's not original, and you can go in there and you need to be able to use it. You still need to be the expert. You can't copy paste and say, "Oh, I wrote a book." You can't copy paste and it can help you. It's a fantastic tool. In many ways, AI is my competitor, but I'm actually in love with it. I'm in my day-to-day business now. I'm having better conversations. I'm providing more information quickly. Um, but I'm also able to go in and say, oh, that's so far off. And I can get rid of what's irrelevant to my presentations, but I can, come in here and use AI to help create a presentation, AI to explain the differences in editing. So you need to paraphrase, rewrite, and validate that none of that is plagiarized for your own reputation, but also for legal situations, because there are little bots out there and they will come and get you as fast as they can. And people make money off of, charging you a hellish amount of money because you didn't cite it. You did not correctly give the original creation credit for what they've done. So please make sure you do that.
Excellent point. And just as a reminder, the discussion and as the technical term that I used in my email, the hoola baloola around AI, like that piece is new, but AI as a tool to be helping writers is not new. We've been using Grammarly, we've been using Pro Writing Aid, we've been using all of these tools that are based on the idea of putting something in that will filter out, that will find things, that will suggest things. Like that's not new. So, there's no reason to be scared or nervous that this is a new thing. And the other thing that I want to point out that I learned through a couple of sessions that I've sat in on and through our mini conference is that AI, like JoEllen has said, it's not, and someone just put it here, it's not intuitive. Like it doesn't actually, you can't put an idea into it and say, create this thing, write this thing. It will write it for you. But what it does is it pulls from code, from snippets, from, I forget what the technical tool, tokens. It's called tokens. So what it does is it pulls from all these tokens that it has from experience that the creators use to build it by using books, hopefully in the public domain, that they put in there to pull in here. So when you say, help me write a chapter in a rom-com where they're walking through Paris and something funny happens in a bookstore, it's going to go out and it's going to pull from all these different things. It's not actually sitting there thinking about, oh, what would be a good storyline? So think about that as well, that it's not, it doesn't have a brain. It can only pull from what it has within its resources. So it's constantly growing, and when people worry about AI stealing an author's plot, well, first of all, I would like to just say it can't, because it's pulling from tokens, and it doesn't put things from what we know of right now with the tools we're using. It doesn't take what you put into it on the paid versions. On some of the free versions, you have to be careful because they can use whatever's out there that's now part of the public domain. But if you're using a paid tool, that's not supposed to be happening. But again, it's pulling from tokens that are matched up with things to say, okay, she said this thing, or the author said, create a story about blah blah blah. So I'm going into my databases and I'm pulling the tokens for all of these things.
Yeah,
So
super fast.
it's actually it's fascinating to play around with. I love using Chat GPT when I'm stuck at a part in my story.
Mm,
But it's not good enough. Some people are using AI to generate entire books, but they're directing it, they're guiding it. Some are bad, some are really good, So I would encourage you to like take a step back from all that this is bad, or this is harmful or whatever, and look at how it can be used to help us. And right now there are so many wonderful resources, especially with the self-editing portion
yeah,
of it. Okay.
self-editing is phenomenal.
Okay, let's see. I'm referring to a story written without AI, but sent to AI for editing. So when you say sent to AI for editing, I'm assuming you mean you loaded it to Grammarly or to Pro Writing Aid or to something like that. That's perfectly acceptable. Again, it's just pulling from It's
Mm,
databases of resources to say, okay, this is not correct grammar. This word's been used 150 times. This is a sticky sentence. This is this and that. So you don't
hmm.
have to, if you're using Pro Writing Aid to help self-edit your book, you do not have to claim that as AI assisted or AI anything when you're filing. I hope that was
Right.
answering Adrian's question correctly. Okay, so then this isn't, I don't know the answer to this question. Have you ever heard of this one? If you use AI editing, will that show up with an AI detector, thus an agent turning down your book?
I don't, if your idea and your concept and your presentation, the structure of your proposal matches the audience of which that agent or publisher wants to work, and none of it is plagiarized, I see no reason that they wouldn't accept it if it fits their audience. Remember, they're looking to make money, and they know their audience, they know what engages them, they know what they want. So if yours matches there, if you used a tool to edit to get there, I don't see how that would be a problem. There's, AI tools editing is to your benefit. Bringing them a crappy we can't get through the gatekeepers nowadays with just the idea. You used to be able to have writing, but have a really great concept. But now there's just millions of people. I mean, literally, second by second, there's millions of people submitting ideas and concepts out there. So it better be in the best position it can be. So absolutely, you should be using all the tools you can to create the best manuscript you can before you approach an editor or a publisher. And remember, they're going to edit also. So as long as it's not plagiarized or copyrighted, they're going to, still tweak that to match exactly what they need and want from you. Traditional editing, publishing house.
Exactly. Let's see. Um, so okay, this is a great question. Do you know, I don't know how much you have gotten into like using the AI tools for actually like taking a paragraph and having it rewrite or anything like that. The one experience that I have specifically for that is actually through Publisher Rocket. They have a free tool that will allow you to plug in your book blurb, and they use Chat GPT to help you refine and rewrite the book blurb like that. That's not
Mm-hmm.
exactly editing. Most of the AI tools that I use for editing well, the AI tool that I use is Pro Writing Aid, where I just put it
Right.
into my document in there and it comes back and with a whole list of all the things to look at. But do you know of any prompt examples if you're putting something into AI for editing, or I
A
don't,
prompt example for rewriting I'm sorry, we started one place and I think we edited somewhere else. You want an AI editing tool to give you a prompt?
I think what they want is like if you're using AI for helping you write, you'd put in a prompt like, write me a paragraph where this 22-year-old boy and a 21-year-old girl are walking through the streets of Paris and they, come across something really strange at the market or whatever. Like that would be a prompt for it. I don't know of prompts. I mean, I guess the prompts for editing that I would use if I was using Chat GPT to try and clean something up, I'd drop my page in there and my prompt would be, please review this for inconsistencies in point of view. Please review this for repeated words. Please review this for sticky sentences or things like that. So you have to know yourself what those things would be, which is why I say scrap that and just use Pro Writing Aid because it does it for you.
It
If you're
does. And that's the great part. I mean, we're actually part of the button. When you're in Pro Writing Age, you're going to see a little button there and it'll say get a human editor. And that's us. So what that does is that means when you go to an editor, you need to have a complete manuscript from beginning to end, beginning, middle, end, all of that, a complete idea, so that we can evaluate it from either a developmental, making sure that the concept is good, or we're going into the other parts of editing. ProWriting provides content editing, or sorry, copy editing, grammar, spelling, punctuation, ideas, whatever. I was using it today. I use it every day. It still makes random weird suggestions sometimes. I'm like, you need to put a period here. I'm like, it's not the end of the sentence, but that's just for whatever reason it does these things. So that's why you still want to have a human go through it, because the top books on the marketplace out there, even after they've been printed, we still find errors in them. So you really need to use as much as you can on all levels, but uh, the tools are there, they're going to make suggestions, and you need to have the human that says, yeah, but I'm using this sentence in this way, which allows me to break the rule. It allows me to use a different dialect or a different, exclamation. It use bad grammar because it's part of the speech. There's different things that are there. So don't accept all, the same as you should never accept all from all the suggestions from your editor, your human editor. You should never accept all suggestions from your AI editor, because ultimately there will be times when it's wrong.
Absolutely. And that's why the human piece is so incredibly important, because going back to these tokens, and one of the examples that we got in the session that I sat in is that so the tokens are literally just like, it's just words that connect to other words that connect to other words or thoughts, right? So if you give it
Yeah.
an idea, it's going to go back and it's going to pull anything that it thinks is associated with that. Well, it could create something completely different, that if it takes, in English in particular, we think about wind and wind, windy and windy. Like sometimes
Mm,
it can pull the wrong tokens in there, and then you have
mm,
something that's way off the bat and way, out of control. So AI can be a great and wonderful tool for you,
mm,
but the human editor is going to make sure that you're catching, especially on developmental. I can't imagine a scenario where there'd ever be AI good enough to do a developmental edit of anything, but
yeah.
who knows? Who knows? Never say never, right? I never thought we'd
No.
be here in
Oops.
Zoom doing a webinar across the globe. But
Yeah.
Leslie just dropped some information for some prompts. But again, it comes back to, if you're using AI strictly with prompts to do your editing, like you have to know enough about what questions to ask to
Mm,
make that useful to you. So that's some great information. But
mm.
that
I mean,
and
there are people who are at that level, and
yes,
congratulations. And
absolutely.
that's why you come to these, because it is open. This is sharing of ideas, and people who know how to write the prompts, it's great. It's the same with marketing. If you know,
Yes.
the psychology of what you're doing, great. But if you're still learning, take that information and learn as much you can, and then go as far as you can. And then, save yourself your money, and then you can splurge on wherever you need the help,
The
because
beauty of
editing's expensive.
Exactly. The beauty of using AI as part of your self-editing process is that it allows you to clean up your manuscript to the point that when you go to your human editor, you've saved a lot of time and money, hopefully. So that's, the important piece to take away from this. We've got several questions specifically about first editing, so I'm going to combine a
Okay.
couple so that you can tell people. So, do you assign one editor or an author to an author for developmental editing, one for content editor, one for proofreading? Do you switch editors? How do you manage that process? And then, and people are asking on payment, but we can answer those
Sure,
separately.
sure. Uh, you when you have if you're doing a developmental edit, you need to have an editor who is skilled in that specific, because it's very easy to, a copy editor is such a different world from a developmental editor. So we have our editors trained and assigned according to their expertise, not only to their genres and their subject matter, but also their specialties. In our organization, we went ahead and we certified a lot of our fiction editors, not all, as certified story coaches, which means that they can go in and look at it from a developmental part. And we've used traditionally software to go through that and do that. You can do that yourself, and then come to us, and we use the same language, so we know how to communicate using the software that you've done. But you can also just do that from that information's coming from editors who have worked in the publishing sphere. So they already look at the book from those developmental levels, the structure, the creativity, the following the format and the form of the story arc, and that. So we do assign the editors um, according to their specialties. Some are extremely good, syntax, grammar, spelling, punctuation, and others are really good at advising you on how to move that around, and they're more into the coaching. So we do divide those up. Personally, I think that you should use a different editor when you're at different levels. You know, you should do a developmental editor, and it's always to your advantage if you're going to go another round to have fresh eyes, because in the same way that you get stuck in the forest and you can't see the trees anymore because you know the story so well, it's the same for an editor. They can take it so far, but like your final proof or your final copy edit, it's really good to have somebody who's fresh, who's not, they're just they're just doing their job. You know, there's nothing, they're not thinking, oh, that was so great. I'm so glad we fixed that. Oh, I really like how this worked out now. It feels so much better. That's great. But you want to make sure that there's, you know, nothing's misspelled or done. So absolutely, you should have a developmental editor who is specialized when you're doing that stage and a copy editor when you're doing the copy editing.
Oh my
So
gosh.
different editors, different levels.
Yes. And then pricing, do you charge by the
Mhm.
page or for the word? Did you?
Pages are basically words, either way you want to do it. You know, it's around 250 words per page. So we charge by word because that's more fair. It's exactly what you created. There can be pages that are shorter, especially if you're, you know, some people, especially now that we have AI, people are formatting them in advance and they've done that. So you've got pages that are incomplete. And it would be, you know, you've got a scene break and another scene break and a chapter break and whatever. So going by the words, we, you know, and of course it's a higher, it's according to your needs and your wants. So if you need a line edit, but you would like to do a developmental edit, of course we can provide that. But if you need a content edit and you only want to do a copy edit, we can't do that because we need to make sure that we're not doing a disservice to you or ourselves. Because if you walk away with something that's poorly edited, they're going to blame us. We
Mhm.
didn't do our job. So it's, you know, if you bring a plumber in and they don't fix the leak and it leaks less, it's still broken. So we need to make sure that we do what you need, and we will tell you exactly what we feel you need. And then anything above and beyond that, you can choose, of course, if you want. We also do additional services, which can be helping you with your blurb or your author bio or your book jacket cover. We don't promote those as much, but we found that, you know, editors are very good at helping you get through those things that become an extra task at the end and you really want to get to the launching, the promoting.
We have a ton more questions here and we
Oh,
will
I'm
try to
sure.
get through as many as we can, but I do want to go ahead and clarify because we're getting a lot of questions on this, the
Mhm.
difference between AI generated and AI assisted. So everybody who's putting a book up on Amazon right now, every time you put in a book, it asks if you used AI to create the content of your book. That means did you generate the content with AI? AI assist is I'm working on my book. I've written 7 chapters. I get to the end of chapter 7 and I'm not sure what I want to happen next, or maybe I want some different ideas of how chapter 7 could have gone. I can copy what I've written into that and I can say, here's what I've done. Can you help me think about how what the next chapter could happen in the next chapter, or what this character might do, or why this character is behaving this, etc. And then it's giving you some ideas. If you're using Assist, you're looking at those ideas, you're weeding out what doesn't work, what does work for you. You may be pulling, yes, you might use a line or two from it, but generally it's just helping you flesh out the ideas. It's helping you um, see what's possible, but then you're taking that and you're writing it. For the editing part, you are using a tool like Pro Writing Aid does not count as AI assist. It's a tool that looks at things and you go back in and you get the suggestions and you make those changes. AI generated would be write me a rom-com book that these are the things that I want to happen at least through the 3 chapters. Help me figure out what happens the rest of it and write it for me. And if
Mm.
you use the bulk, if you use the majority of that content, then that's AI generated. So if you can see, you can use AI to help assist you improve something, or even brainstorming, or even outlining. I used it the other day to help me create a character profile. I was like, this is the dude she's dating now. help me
Mm.
figure out more about Sam. This is some information about him. This is what I think, I think he's working in. This is what I think. Help me. And it generated me a character profile. It gave me the name, what his father did, where they live, things that they might like to do on holiday, like these. So that's a fun way to help you think about, okay, now I can write Sam better because of this profile, but I'm not copying and pasting that. It also does really funny things. Like if you ask it to help you write a chapter, it never fails. When I pop in a chapter and I'm like, what might happen in the next chapter? Every time this same paragraph shows up. As I lay in my bed that night thinking about everything that happened, like every time. So like it repeats a lot of the same, it uses the
Yeah.
same vocabulary often. Like it's, if you're playing in an AI, you get to the point where you can see some content
Yes.
and you're like, that was written by AI.
Yes.
And so it's a helpful tool to help you navigate things, get through it. But that's the biggest difference. So if you just helped get some ideas, or if you even put in like 7 paragraphs and said, there's too much exposition in this, please help me tighten this up, and you're talking about 7 paragraphs out of 60,000 words. In my opinion, you do not have to claim that that was AI generated or even AI assisted, because it's such
No.
a small percentage of the words. So
Yeah.
there's no rules on this right now, right? So we're relying on people to be ethical and to do the right thing. So if you have a book that's been 90% generated by AI, and you just changed a few things or tweaked a few things, then yes, you need to put that that was AI generated. You will not get punished for doing AI generated books on KDP. Listen, there are a lot of people out there that are writing entire books with AI. They're guiding the AI, they are in there, they're making the changes, they're helping it get better and whatever. And you're not being punished for that. They just want to know, because it's so that people can say, when it's out there, this was a book generated by AI, so that people know what they're getting into. So I hope that clarifies that piece a little bit on the writing, because I've seen a lot of questions on this. And, if you're just using AI to self-edit, if you're using it just to help you brainstorm and do that, that's assist, and that doesn't need to be claimed, but you're going to have to determine what point it was, how much of the book was actually copied and pasted from what AI gave you. And that's
And
where
I do want to interject there. It's the same, you can recognize, you can give credit to the editor who's been part of your book, but you don't have to.
no,
You just don't have to. So if you're using these tools, you do not have to do that, because it's not their property, it's not their ownership. Now, if you're claiming that this is your ideas and your creation and you did not create it, that's where the problem is. You didn't create it, it's not your idea, it's not your property.
there
So
you go. That's
that's the
very nice.
easiest way to do it. Did you create it or not?
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. Okay, that was Judy's. Okay, so more things on first editing. Let's answer those questions
Sure.
because that's important. Genres. Do you do children's picture books?
Not so many. We can, but I mean, children's picture books are. Uh, we can go through the text. We're not going to go through the books. You're going to want a designer and layout and those kind of things. That's much more of creative.
Okay. But
Mhm.
beyond that, you do nonfiction, fiction. Let's walk through
Fiction,
the
nonfiction, you
process
name
of
it.
what happens. Somebody comes to you and wants to get a quote from you. What's that process?
Sure. They come to us and basically they can get an instant price quote if they want, but ideally you want to get a free sample. So you upload at least 10,000 words of your document, you send it off to us. We match you with an editor that we feel is a good fit, and they provide the sample, they write it back. They're going to give you basically a small critique. It's not in depth. This is not a huge thing like what I'm promoting today that you can do yourself. It is basically that you can go in and they'll say, you need this level of editing. I can see your strengths are here. You will, and it will take this long, and it'll cost this much. And they'll also show you how they work, which is basically matchmaking. You can say, oh, this feels good, or no, I don't agree with them at all. And we have that happen. It's not all the time, but on occasion people say, no, I didn't like that one. And we can gladly switch you to a different editor and do it that. The reason why people work with us is we have a guarantee that of when we're going to deliver it and the quality, and we have a team of editors, I like to say an army of editors standing by. So if something happens in their life, you don't miss your deadline or whatever it is that needs to be done. We can cover it for you. And yeah, it's worked. I've been working with this company now 17 years. I am a dinosaur online. Nobody makes it that long. It's just amazing. So, but come in, get a free sample. We'll let you talk to the editor, and see how they work and make a good fit for you.
We have several editors in our audience who have been asking
Sure.
about how you do some of this stuff we've been talking about for authors, etc. Does first editing, I know that you are always adding to your pool of editors, but do you do training specific to editors for the community out there, or do you have any suggestions on where our editors might be able to go for information on how to use AI effectively as an editor?
Oh, to use AI, that's a whole different story. But the editors, the editors that we hire normally come in with an extreme background. They have, their masters. We have masters in editing. Uh, they have extensive publishing experience. They've worked in different editing houses. They go above and beyond. They've got training beyond that. We don't take on new copywriters or proofreaders with on the job training. We're just too busy and it's too much of our reputation. There's a lot out there. So you can get your feet wet and your bite into something freelancing. Um, but for us, we do ask what your advanced degrees are, your training, your experience, and all of that. And you need to be familiar with all the different tools that are out there that help you. Um, Up until now, that's been things like, spell check and grammar check and whatever. But now, as we're getting all these tools available to the population out there, it's very fun. We see, hear, whatever you want to say, when something doesn't, like this isn't right. We're reading this book, and all of a sudden it just goes. And so we're having to implement a lot more plagiarism checkers and AI checkers. Is this human? And there are basically tools you can run it through now saying this was produced by a human or this was mainly produced by a bot, because the bot thinks it's being friendly, but it's like when you're trying to chat with a bot and they're like, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. Please repeat your question. You're like, ah! So,
There are some
but if
things that AI will not touch either, violence, sex, things like that. Like, so if you're writing any books with those things in, sorry, AI is not going to write it for you.
I mean, and there's editors who won't either, so that's always
Right.
fun. But for the editors who are looking out there for jobs to we actually did a lot of training, as I mentioned, with our certified coaching. So we created a whole realm there, and we're pretty full on that. We have our nonfiction, we have a whole extensive, but it is on the job training for techniques, and it's more an in-house manual guide. So we have our own style guide of how we communicate, how we produce a sample, you know, how much communication happens, and different things like that so that we can assure the quality, but we don't spend a lot of time training the basics of editing. Editing is, a high level skill. You need to go to the university. You need to, have at least a bachelor's degree on that. Proofreading can be done with on the job training, and that we get a lot of people who come to us who've worked as teachers and they say, oh, I can do this, or I've written 5 books. That's great, but that's still not the same as giving really solid feedback that isn't from just your perspective. It's based upon publishing requirements and,
Mm.
what the audience wants or the genre or what the current state of the world requires. And we also, and in our company, we do not only fiction and nonfiction, we have academic and research. So we have PhD editors who are working with theses and dissertations and journal
Yeah.
publications and that. And I don't normally talk a lot about that, but that's always been part of our foundation. And so we have quite a broad base there.
All right.
But we
In
do
answer
take applications. They can apply. We
um,
are hiring.
oh, awesome. Good to know. And then,
Yeah, yeah, sorry.
yeah, okay. I know we've got lots of editors in our audience too. If y'all have any resources on training programs, that you want
Mhm.
to drop in there for anybody who is looking
Sure.
for some of those other training, that's great too.
Hmm.
There's a lot of training programs out there and university programs, all
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yes.
So, okay. And several people have asked about, this is going to be our last question because we're already 10 minutes over. But our last question is about short story editing.
Hmm.
I'm combining two questions, but first of all, if you write short stories, should you look for an editor that is specific to short story editing? Does First Editing do short story editing?
Yes. Yes. Easy
That was
questions. Yes. I
okay.
mean, you should always have somebody specific to that because, short form, but it still has the same needs. But if you're competing or something, maybe you want to mention that to the editor. The more specific you can be in your requirements or the better questions you have, it's always helpful. Short stories, if you're publishing, is one thing. If you're competing for, writing contests, then it's also the same as you if you were submitting a research document. There is a guideline that you need to complete and follow. So if you have that, you should always submit any of that supporting style guides and requirements to the editor when as early in the process as possible. Do not wait. It needs to be done from the very beginning, along with any questions or specific challenges that you're facing. The more you communicate, the better in general. Mm.
Awesome. I'm sorry that we
Awesome.
weren't able to get to all of your questions.
Oh,
There's a few good
email
questions
us.
here, but they're a lot more related to fears around plagiarism or
Yeah,
asking for advice on tools to use for AI and all that kind of stuff. I would tell you Google's your friend. There's so many new of things popping up all the time for writers to work out there. Several of you in the chat, thank you very much for dropping all of your resources in there. There's been several tools in there. If you're worried about your content being used, what I would encourage you to do is to make sure that you read up on the licensing and the storage, how they store. For example, I use Autocrit to help me in the not editing so much, although they are adding more robust editing tools in there, but for generative stuff, for analyzing, for creating synopses of all of the things, for you can ask it what might happen next and it'll give you some ideas, just short paragraphs. It's not going to write you a book, but it'll say, here are 3 ways that you could take this story next. What if Callie does this? What if whatever.
mm,
When I asked them specifically, they said they use private servers and your content is basically loaded there for your use and no one else accesses that content. So when you're working with a licensed tool, i.e., you have to pay for a subscription or a license, generally those companies have their own private servers and your information is not going out into the world. If it's a free and open place where you can, like
open
the
source.
free version of Chat GPT, and you're dropping your content in there, there's no protection on your stuff. So it can be, who knows what happens and where it goes and all that kind of stuff. So if you're using AI, make sure you're using a licensed a company and that you've done your research on what they're doing with your content and who has access to it, etc. Because that is really important.
Mm,
But when you're using the right tools, you shouldn't have to fear for those big reasons. But anyway, it's a very interesting discussion around this right now. There's a lot of laws being changed as we speak on what can be used and how and where and who has access to your information. So this is not something that's going to go away. I love that you decided to bring this as an editing topic because I think, we've talked so much about the writing, but we haven't really talked about the AI
right.
versus human editors in it. So I thought this was a fascinating look into that.
Mm,
And um, I'm gonna drop your information one more time in here.
yes.
There's a checklist for you. Um,
Yes.
free
Yeah, let
editing.
me just mention we have a free checklist. It's not done. So if you want to do that, there's a link that's going to be there. And of course, you can go to our website page on Women in Publishing Summit. But if you want to go to our website, it's firstediting.com/women in publishing. And there you can register to win a free developmental edit. You can also participate in our newest offer there for the 10,000 word beta read and consultation. with the getting your money back there. And then of course, it talks about when we're going to be at the summit and everything else there. So please, please, please stop by, check it out. And Alexa, if you can mail that out as a follow-up to everyone who saw this or is interested in seeing the replay, that would be super great so that they have that information.
It will go into the notes of the YouTube replay. Since this is an open webinar, it will be up on YouTube. So the first place you should go for the replay is youtube.com/write publish sell, like WRITE, write publish sell. Subscribe to us so that whenever our tutorials, webinars, training videos, all that stuff gets up there, you can see it. And I'll include all of these links in the notes. It will also go into the attendee for everyone who has a ticket already. We'll put this in
Excellent.
your attendee assets information as well.
Nice.
If you haven't gotten your ticket, get to the conference. Why not? Why aren't you joining us on March 6th through 9th? That's going to be a blast. We really are having a great time, and we would love to have you join us there. Everything is recorded. If you're not able to attend live the entire time, you have access to the recordings for a significant amount of time. We have lots of opportunities to meet with in small groups with our sponsors, like JoEllen will be there ready to meet with you
Yep.
and answer all your questions in our sponsor booth. We have lots of networking and opportunities to meet with authors and publishers and brainstorm these ideas and get together and talk about what you're doing and what tools you're using. So it's fully virtual. The 6th through the 9th, womeninpublishingsummit.com is where the tickets are. We'd love to see you there. And that's all I need to say about that. Just make sure that you do go over to the events page and check out. We have a free session every month. In February, we are loaded up. We have another free webinar tomorrow and another one on March 4th. So we've got lots of great opportunities for everybody in our community, even if you can't attend even if you can't attend the conference. And thank you, Jacqueline. That is really a nice she said WIP is the best training value anywhere. Thank you so much.
Nice.
JoEllen,
My pleasure.
this was wonderful as always. I look forward to seeing you next week in the conference,
Next week.
and yay, everyone have a
Yay.
great day. Go over to womeninpublishingsummit.com/first editing to check out all of their stuff. Or I'm going to drop that link one more time so that everybody has the link to get the checklist. And again, this will be in the notes of the replay on YouTube as well.
Excellent. We'll see you then. So firstediting.com/women-in publishing has everything, and the sign up to win. We are giving away a free developmental edit. So win, win, win. All
Win,
right.
win,
Thank you so much.
win. Thanks. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.